Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut through the information jungle. We take listener-provided sources and, well, we extract the crucial insights, those surprising nuggets, and maybe those aha moments that make you feel instantly smarter.
Yeah, think of it as going from information overload to I get it in one focused listen.
Exactly.
So today, we're plunging into client acquisition. We're drawing from Chris Orzechowski's book, Client Acquisition, the first edition.
Okay.
Now, it's important to remember, and the book itself is very clear on this, this is for learning and information only.
Right.
No promises of instant riches, obviously, but definitely a deep well of ideas on how to, effectively gain clients.
Definitely. Our mission today really is to dissect Orzechowski's strategies for landing clients. This is especially if you're a service provider, maybe a copywriter like he was. We want to uncover what truly moves the needle, what maybe to avoid, and just grasp the essence of his advice. This one's especially tailored for you, the learner, if you're after knowledge that sticks, multiple angles, actionable steps you can actually use.
Without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Yes, without your brain doing Olympic gymnastics. Okay, so let's get into the core of this. Where does he start?
Well, Orzechowski kicks off by sharing the driving force behind his book, His Personal Why.
Ah, the motivation piece.
Yeah, and it's a story I think many people can probably relate to. He talks about getting fired from his teaching job.
Wow, okay.
And that was a sharp wake-up call. It highlighted a critical gap. He knew how to write. He had the skill. But he lacked a consistent system for actually attracting clients.
You can almost feel that jolt, right? Knowing you've got a valuable skill but struggling to connect.
Exactly.
He talks about the financial side, too, having to take a less desirable job and the hit to his pride. That's tough.
Yeah, really tough. And a key insight here might be just that. Frustration could be a powerful catalyst, Losing his job basically forced him to figure this client thing out systematically. A lesson for anyone feeling kind of stuck.
So what did he do?
Well, what's fascinating is his response. He describes making this conscious decision to just immerse himself in figuring out client acquisition.
Go all in.
Totally. He mentions dedicating himself intensely, working really long hours, putting hobbies on hold for like 2 solid years.
Wow.
His main motivation, as he puts it, was this yearning for control, for financial stability, and, ultimately the freedom to write his own ticket.
And that really resonates. I'm sure many listening have felt that being in a job you don't love, constantly hunting for clients.
Maybe dealing with clients who don't quite value your work, or that feast or famine cycle.
Yeah, the roller coaster. Too much work, then suddenly nothing.
Precisely. And Orzechowski's core promise here is to share strategies that go beyond the usual stuff, like just sending tons of cold emails or basically begging for work.
Okay, so something deeper.
Yeah, his focus shifts towards building a brand, something recognizable that naturally pulls clients in.
Okay, so that fundamental question then. Where are these potential clients? It can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack sometimes.
Right. Orzechowski uses this helpful analogy of digital rooms where clients tend to gather.
Digital rooms, like online communities.
Exactly. Think online communities for specific industries, forums, targeted groups on social media, that kind of thing. He also gets into the psychology of when businesses decide they need to hire someone like a copywriter.
Ah, the trigger points.
Yeah, often it's a specific event or they realize they just can't hit their goals alone. And that's when the search starts: referrals, job boards, search engines.
Now, he mentioned cold email earlier. He doesn't exactly give it a glowing review for beginners, does he?
No, he doesn't hold back there. It sounds like his first attempts with cold email were, let's just say, challenging. He talks about his early experiences, even following advice from his mentor, Ian Stanley, which involved making these personalized screen capture videos for potential clients.
Oh, wow. That sounds time-consuming, especially back then.
Incredibly time-consuming. He even shares this story about landing a client that way, but then ultimately not getting paid because the client's product was just bad.
Ouch. That hurts.
Yeah, but he reframes it, He calls it building calluses, getting over that fear of rejection.
A tough lesson, but maybe a necessary one. And he explains why cold email is often tough for newbies.
Yeah, basically you haven't built any name recognition or trust yet.
Right. Why take a chance on a total unknown?
Exactly. Which leads him to suggest that warmer approaches are generally better when you're starting out. Where there's some kind of initial connection. He gets into that more later.
Okay, so that brings us to getting the first client. He says that's often the hardest.
Yeah, he emphasizes that it's often as much about overcoming your own internal beliefs about your worth as it is about the actual market.
That internal battle, the self-doubt, that can be the biggest hurdle, can't?
Definitely. He shares his own experiences doing unpaid stuff initially, which I think a lot of people starting out can relate to.
Sure.
But then comes this story about Desi and an Amazon massage stick. That sounds like it was a real turning
A
point.
massage stick. Okay, tell me more.
So he offered to write a product description for free, just in exchange for introductions to other Amazon sellers.
Ah, the value upfront strategy.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And this simple act led him to his first paying client, this woman, Katie, selling exercise bands in Australia. And he got paid $300.
Nice.
And Orzechowski describes how significant that felt. He says, it was real.
Huh. I get that. That first tangible win.
Yeah, it highlights a key insight, those small early wins. They provide crucial validation. They fuel your momentum.
Totally. But he contrasts that with some rougher starts too, right? Like a direct mail campaign.
Oh, yeah, he mentions this expensive direct mail campaign that ended with the client just not showing up.
Oh, no.
You can almost feel the disappointment, the embarrassment he must have felt then.
And he talks about feeling isolated too, like friends and family maybe didn't get it.
Yeah, that feeling of trying to explain this path you're on and people just looking at you blankly.
Been there.
But his message is basically, winning takes care of everything. Once you start getting results, the skepticism tends to fade.
So keep going. He tried other things too, networking events.
Yeah, he mentions trying local business meetups, Toastmasters. Neither really delivered clients right away for him. Seems like he explored a lot of avenues.
Diligent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this ultimately leads him to realize the power of building a personal network and focusing on warm connections.
Okay, warm connection.
He really emphasizes that these are way more effective, especially early on, than just blasting out cold messages.
So just to clarify, what's the difference he makes between warm and cold?
A warm lead is someone you have some existing connection with. Maybe they know you, they like your vibe, they trust you a little already.
Got it.
A cold lead, no prior connection, they have no idea who you are.
And his actionable advice for actually getting those first warm leads?
He suggests looking at who you already know, friends, family, old colleagues, anyone who has a business or knows someone who does.
Start with your existing circle.
Yeah. And the key step is just to start conversations, tell them what you're doing now, explain how you can help people.
Okay, so you're reaching out, starting conversations, but then, boom, imposter syndrome kicks in. That voice saying, who are you to do this?
Oh yeah, it's a huge hurdle. Orzechowski dedicates a good chunk of the book to this. He shares his own struggles and talks about a coach named Jody who really transformed his whole approach to sales.
A coach helped him shift his mindset.
Big time. He talks about falling into the giving value trap.
Ah, where you give away all your best ideas for free in the sales call.
Exactly. You feel like you have to prove yourself, so you consult for free, and then there's nothing left to actually bill for.
I can see how that happens. So what was the shift?
Well, Jody apparently nailed his ineffective sales calls. He'd babble, give away ideas, send a proposal, then crickets.
Oof. Relatable pain point for many, I bet.
Totally. And she introduced this, counterintuitive idea.
Mm-hmm.
The point of the sales call isn't for you to sell yourself by giving value. It's for the client to sell themselves on why they're a good fit to work with you.
Whoa, okay. Flipping the script entirely. Changing the power dynamic.
Exactly. Jody emphasized that the client has a need. That gives you inherent leverage. And Orzechowski realized that any hint of neediness from the copywriter in your posture, your voice, whatever, can actually kill the deal.
Interesting. So how do you avoid being needy?
Jody's advice was pretty radical. Go into every sales call expecting not to win the deal.
Expecting not to win. How does that help?
It takes the pressure off. It removes that needy vibe. You become more relaxed, more present, more effective.
Detachment, almost.
Yeah. And she coached him to ask really good questions and just listen more than talk. Make the client explain their problems, articulate why they need your help.
What kind of questions?
Good, open-ended ones. Things like, why is this a priority for you now? What have you tried before? What would a positive outcome look like for your business? Really digging into their pain points.
Getting them to articulate the value themselves.
Precisely. And she pushed him hard to raise his rates, even when it felt super uncomfortable. That apparently had a huge impact on his mindset.
Wow.
The big takeaway he emphasizes is, you are the prize.
That's powerful.
Yeah, recognizing your unique skills and experience is crucial for shifting that dynamic. You have to believe you're the prize.
Internalize that mantra. Okay, so we've dealt with initial outreach mindset hurdles. What's next for building a more consistent flow of clients?
So he transitions from that direct outbound stuff like cold pitching towards inbound marketing, setting things up so clients come to you.
The dream.
Right. And the cornerstone of this, he argues, is list building.
List building. Most people immediately think email lists, right?
And yeah, email lists are definitely powerful, super valuable. He acknowledges that. But he clarifies his definition is broader.
Okay.
It includes building a following on relevant social media, nurturing network connections, participating in online groups, basically anywhere your potential clients hang out online.
So not just email.
Right. He sees email as maybe the most potent, but also the one that takes the most time to build from zero. But the big advantage is that all list building helps warm up colder leads over time.
Makes sense. You're building familiarity, trust.
Exactly. He shares his early kind of basic strategy on Facebook, just friending people he thought might be potential clients, even before he really knew exactly who his ideal client was.
Just starting to build connections.
Yeah. And then he talks about another key mentor, Kevin Rogers, and joining his Copy Chief community and coaching program.
Sounds like a big step.
It was a $5,000 investment back then, which was huge for him. But he had this strong gut feeling it was the right move.
Trusting the gut.
And Kevin Rogers really encouraged him to just get active in social media groups, answer questions, show his expertise.
Provide value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that simple act led to him basically making friends online. He'd answer questions, then add people who engage with his answers as Facebook friends.
So active engagement, not just passive connection collecting.
Right. And this illustrates the network effect. As your direct connections grow, your reach expands. You get more potential referrals.
Like ripples in a pond.
Yeah, each new connection potentially exposes you to their entire network, increases your visibility. So he suggests the first list to build isn't necessarily email, but a solid friends list or connection list on the platform where your ideal clients are active.
And the key is providing value within that network.
Always. Consistently provide value. He even suggests connecting with other service providers, like on LinkedIn, to amplify that network effect further.
Okay, so you're building the network, making connections. How do you really solidify your authority and start attracting the right clients consistently?
This flows right into the idea of creating assets. He borrows from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad here.
Assets versus liabilities.
Exactly. Assets put money in your pocket. And in the digital age, Orzechowski argues, content is an incredibly powerful asset.
Content as an asset. I like that framing, like digital real estate.
Kind of. It can generate leads and interest for you passively over time.
Yeah.
He mentioned starting his blog back in 2016, way before he was well known.
Must have felt like shouting into the void at first.
He admits it felt a bit futile initially, but he knew consistency was key, and these assets would eventually pay off.
And they did.
Absolutely. His first readers came from that network he was building on social media. He stresses that consistent, valuable content creation is what attracts the right people, potential clients.
And he certainly walked the walk. Hundreds of articles, that email of the week thing, that's serious commitment.
Yeah, and the payoff is long-term. He still gets leads from content he wrote years ago.
Wow. So what's the secret to content that attracts clients?
According to him, it's demonstration. Showing, not just telling.
Showing your work, showing results.
Exactly. He talks about meeting the legendary Gary Bencivenga and how that shifted his perspective.
What was Bencivenga's point?
Basically, demonstrating real expertise is way more persuasive than just talking about it. So Orzechowski contrasts typical headline hacks content with his approach, documenting his client wins, showing the results he got.
Case studies, essentially. Proof.
Yeah. That's what builds real authority and attracts higher quality clients who see the proof.
That makes total sense. Seeing results is compelling. But what about the time commitment? Creating good content consistently takes time.
He acknowledges that's a valid concern, but he points out that sometimes even one really good piece of content can start attracting leads quickly.
Quality over quantity sometimes.
Maybe, but consistency is still key. He mentions different formats, blogs, videos, Twitter threads, LinkedIn posts. The important thing is consistency and just gradually getting better. And he notes a nice side effect is you can usually raise your rates as your authority grows.
Makes sense. Build the brand, command higher fees.
Okay, so connecting, creating assets. How does this all come together into a system?
Right. This is where he introduces the Kraken analogy.
The Kraken. Like the mythical sea monster.
Exactly. He uses it to represent a leveraged client acquisition system with multiple arms or channels, all pulling in clients simultaneously.
Okay, I like that visual, a multi-pronged attack. He paints this picture of the ideal. Maybe 30 minutes of focused writing or content creation each day, leading to a steady stream of inquiries from interested clients. And he insists this is achievable with the Kraken system.
So what are these arms of the Kraken?
They're all the different channels. Referral partners, your social media connections, maybe a YouTube channel, LinkedIn, your website, blog posts, eventually maybe even paid ads.
Lots of possibilities.
Yeah, but the basic Krakens start small. Focus on consistently building assets through one chosen method first, like a weekly blog post or a short weekly video.
Consistency again. It keeps coming up.
It's fundamental. He stresses doing that one thing consistently, maybe for at least a year, to really build momentum. He himself focused mainly on long-form blogging for 5 years before really branching out much.
5 years on one channel. Wow.
Yeah, but his point is that even one strong arm of the Kraken can be enough to keep you fully booked.
So the formula for the basic Kraken is?
Pretty simple. Publish valuable content weekly on your chosen platform. Promote it to your network. Include a clear call to action.
Call to action like?
Apply to work with you, email me, download this lead magnet, follow me here,
Yeah.
whatever makes sense. The advanced Kraken is just adding more layers, more platforms, maybe more frequent publishing.
So it's scalable. It grows with you.
Exactly. And the ultimate power of it is having more control. Choosing your clients, setting your rates, having that predictable flow of opportunities.
Okay, that's the long game. But what about needing clients like now? Faster wins.
That's where he brings in job boards.
Job boards, like for getting a job?
He clarifies he means finding freelance opportunities. He sees it as a way to get fast money because you're connecting with people who already know they need help and have a budget.
Ah, okay. So people actively looking to hire freelancers.
Right. Businesses use them when they need help and don't already have someone in their network. He recommends Copy Chief specifically for copywriters, but also says Upwork can be viable.
So different from cold outreach because they're already looking.
Exactly. They've already identified the need and allocated resources. He gives examples of how these gigs can turn into longer-term retainers, too.
Oh, interesting. A foot in the door.
Yeah, or even full-time roles advertised that you might negotiate into a contractor setup. Plus, companies using job boards are often more established, more likely to pay well.
Good point.
He shares his own story of getting a gig with Jeff Walker through a job board posting. That led to a retainer and great connections.
Wow, Jeff Walker. So big opportunities can come from there.
Definitely. And he stresses that every person you meet is a potential asset. Building that social capital is huge.
So even if a job board gig isn't the highest pay initially, the experience and connections can be really valuable long term.
Absolutely. And he offers some reassurance. Apparently, the bar is very low on many job boards.
Really?
Yeah, just being professional, following instructions carefully, showing your skills that can often make you stand out significantly.
Good to know. Okay, so opportunities are starting to flow in, maybe from the Kraken arms, maybe from job boards. How do you make sure you pick the right clients?
This leads to what Orzechowski calls the biggest secret to becoming in demand and well-paid: strategic client selection.
Choosing your clients wisely sounds simple, but hard in practice, especially early on.
Totally. He acknowledges that initial phase, the shameless whore phase, as he bluntly puts it, where you feel you have to take everything. But he stresses how crucial it is to learn to pick winning horses, clients and projects with a good chance of success.
And he makes a point about self-reflection here.
Yeah, a critical one. You are the common denominator in all your client relationships, good and bad.
Ooh, that's insightful. If you keep having bad client experiences, maybe look at who you're choosing.
Exactly. His advice is to actively look for clients where the underlying business or offer is already strong.
Why is that so important?
It takes the pressure off you to perform miracles with the copy. He prefers avoiding uphill battles where the client expects you to be a lottery ticket that magically fixes everything.
Right. Find businesses that are already doing well and help them do better.
Pretty much. He gives the example of working with Filippo Loretti watches. He knew their Kickstarter was likely to succeed based on their past performance and lead gen, regardless of who wrote the copy.
So the foundation was solid.
Yeah. It reinforces his idea. A copywriter is a sales multiplier, not a sales creator.
I like that distinction. Multiplier, not creator.
Now, he admits sometimes you got to take less than ideal clients for cash flow, especially early on. But don't make a career out of it. Focus on finding those winners.
Okay, good advice. Now, even with good clients, communication can be tricky. He talks about client speak.
Oh, yes. Client speak.
Mm.
Those common phrases clients use that often mean something else entirely.
Oh, I think I know where this is going. Give me an example.
He tells a story about a high-paying prospect saying money is no object, then completely balking at a $6,000 proposal.
Classic. Heard variations of that one.
Right. He says this stuff happens most often at the start of a relationship. He lists a few classics.
Lay 'em on me.
There's going to be so much more work for you later. Translation. Probably a one-off gig.
Mm-hmm.
We have this person and that person promoting the launch. It's going to be EPCCC. Translation. Those partners probably won't come through. Launch might flop.
Okay, managing expectations there.
Or, dude, if we get this sales page right, we're going to scale to the moon. Millions. Translation. The offer probably has issues, and they expect your copy to be magic.
Right, the lottery ticket expectation again.
Exactly. His advice. Start making your own list of client speak you hear. Recognizing it helps you size up clients better, make sure the pros outweigh the cons.
Good practical tip. Okay, so you've navigated client speak, found a good fit. Time to formalize things. Contracts.
Yes. He really stresses the absolute necessity of contracts when someone wants to hire you.
Did he always use them?
Admits he relied on handshakes early on. But his mentor, Kevin Rogers, insisted on formal contracts.
And he saw the value.
Definitely. Especially with bigger, more established companies. Contracts protect you.
What kind of clauses are crucial?
Things like kill fees. What happens if they cancel mid-project? Refund policies. Payment terms, when and how you get paid. What happens with unused work? What happens if the client goes dark for months?
All important details to iron out up front.
Absolutely. And he makes the point. Asking for a contract isn't weird. If a client is reluctant to sign a reasonable contract, that could be a red flag itself. It's just about protecting both sides and setting clear expectations.
Makes sense. Professionalism. Now, circling back to attracting the right clients, he talks about specialization and positioning.
Yeah, this is huge. He argues that a lack of specialization is a major reason why many service providers struggle and rely on that constant, cold outreach grind.
Because they're trying to be everything to everyone.
Exactly. But unique, clear positioning that acts like a magnet, pulling the right clients to you.
But does specializing lock you in forever? People worry about that.
He makes a really reassuring point here. Your specialty doesn't have to be permanent. Evolution is normal, even expected.
Okay, that takes some pressure off.
Yeah, he shares his own journey. General copywriter, then email copywriter, then launches, info products, e-commerce email, now client acquisition.
So he's shifted focus over time.
Right. But those past specialties are still core skills he has. The key is to pick something and really focus on it for a while. Develop deep expertise, build repeatable systems.
And specialization allows for?
Usually higher success rates because you know the niche inside out, and premium pricing because you're the expert.
Right. Go deep, not just wide.
It ties back to those two ways to get clients. Go to them, outbound, or have them come to you inbound. Specialization drives the inbound approach.
Find what gives you energy. Focus on a narrow, ideal client.
Exactly. And then consistently create content about your specialty. You become known for that thing. Clients who need that thing find you. No more constant outreach.
Okay, that leads nicely into retainers. He calls them the Holy Grail.
He really does. Stands by it firmly. Even mentions a friendly debate he had with Kim Krause-Schwalm about it.
Why are they so valuable?
Well, for the client, they get consistent support, proactive thinking, someone who really understands their business deeply over time.
And for the copywriter?
Predictable income. Consistent workflow, better planning, strong relationships. It smooths out the feast or famine cycle.
He gives examples of successful retainers.
Yeah, mentions students landing great ones, like Ashley Gaynor's variable retainer. Talks about his own agency doing 10K-a-month email retainers for bigger brands.
10,000 a month. Wow.
Yeah. He explains the leverage, especially with email. A relatively small daily time investment can generate huge ROI for the client. And you can stack retainers, handle multiple clients.
Because email is maybe more consistent work than, say, writing one big sales letter.
Often, yeah. More ongoing needs. He shares examples where the first email in a retainer generated huge revenue, instantly justifying the fee.
Powerful proof.
And he encourages listeners. Landing a $3K to $5 a month retainer. Totally achievable for most good writers.
That kind of predictable income is a game changer.
Huge. He shares personally earning about the same from a part-time retainer as his old full-time teaching job. Think about that cash flow, the momentum, the experience.
Yeah, massive difference, even if the workload fluctuates a bit.
He acknowledges that, but says multiple retainers are often quite manageable.
Okay, let's talk numbers. Breaking the $100,000 a year mark. That's a big goal for many freelancers.
He frames it as a baseline for success, definitely not the ceiling. And he says it's achievable by basically reverse engineering the math.
Break it down.
Figure out what you need per month. $100K a year is about $8,333 a month. Then figure out how to get there.
Like how many clients at what rate?
Exactly. Maybe it's 2 clients paying $4,200 a month each.
Mm.
Or 1 big retainer and a couple of projects. You work backwards.
Makes it seem less daunting. Just math.
Right. But he also addresses the mindset hurdles that pop up again here.
Right.
Fear of failure, even fear of success. Imposter syndrome creeping back when you think about charging more.
Ah, yes, the internal critics.
To counter that, he uses that example again. One email making $138,000 in sales. Your skills have real value. Don't underestimate that.
So sit down, do the math, figure out what needs to change pricing, number of clients, type of work to hit the goal.
Exactly. It's just math.
But pushing hard for those income goals, that brings the risk of burnout, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He dedicates a crucial chapter to this. Shares his own experiences of feeling chained to the computer like a slave to his own success early on.
Yeah, when the dream becomes a grind.
Exactly. He says burnout happens when the wins feel less exciting, the enthusiasm drops, and even the money doesn't make up for feeling depleted.
So how do you avoid it? What's his advice?
Really practical stuff. Take time off weekends, daily breaks, exercise, eat healthy, get outside, step away from the constant info consumption, books, podcasts, everything.
Recharge the batteries.
Yeah, he uses the analogy of an Olympic athlete needing rest and proper care. You can't just sprint forever. Plus, he points out, your best ideas often come when you're not actively working.
Interesting point. Let the subconscious work.
And crucially, you can't just double your hours to double your pay long term. That's the path to burnout. Leverage and better clients are key.
Work smarter, not just harder. Okay, so prioritizing self-care is essential for sustainability. Now, what about the next level? Breaking $200 a year.
Okay, so hitting $200,000, which is about $16,667 a month. That usually requires working smarter, landing bigger deals, doing higher value projects.
A step change from just writing copy.
Often, yeah. He observes that many copywriters plateau around $100K, $150K if they only write. Those exceeding $200K often add strategy work to their services.
More strategic consulting, less just execution.
Exactly. Helping clients figure out the what and why, not just the how. It means niching down even further, offering very specific solutions to specific problems.
So $100K is a great start, but $200 often requires that strategic evolution.
Right. And $200K can really change your financial picture, especially with the low overhead of this kind of business. You can get there with more clients, higher fees, bigger retainers, maybe performance deals.
Performance deals, like getting a cut of the sales.
Yeah, that's higher level stuff. But he gives an example. 3 $5,000 month retainers get you close, $180K. And that might only be part-time work if you're efficient.
Wow. Okay, that really illustrates the potential. Now, the final stage he talks about, becoming niche famous. What's that?
Niche famous.
Yeah.
Basically, being incredibly well-known and respected within your specific industry, even if the general public has no idea who you are.
Like a famous jazz musician, huge in the jazz world, maybe not known elsewhere.
Perfect analogy. The goal isn't mainstream fame. It's being famous to the right people, your potential clients, the key players in your niche.
And how do you achieve that? Guessing it involves content.
You guessed it.
Yeah.
Comes from consistently, relentlessly producing valuable content over a long period.
His own example is pretty clear there.
Yeah, all his articles, YouTube, podcasts, books, newsletter, courses, it's a massive body of work demonstrating his expertise.
And the result of that consistent output.
You reach a point where you don't worry about clients. They come to you. You might even be turning people away. Lead flow increases over time, sometimes even if you publish a bit less frequently later on.
Because the back catalog is working for you.
Exactly. And he circles back to Bensavenga. Demonstration is the best proof. Share case studies, show your results. That's how you build that niche fame.
So the key elements are
Clear specialty, proven results, a system for distributing your content, taking a clear stance, and just ultra consistency.
It sounds like a slow build initially, but then it accelerates.
That's the idea. Slow at first, then exponential growth.
Sure.
More demand than you can handle. That's niche famous.
A powerful long-term goal. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive into Chris Orzechowski's client acquisition, what are the absolute key takeaways for our listeners?
Wow, we covered a lot. I mean, starting with understanding your why, figuring out where clients actually are, getting over those early hurdles like the first client and imposter syndrome.
Right, the mindset shifts were huge.
Definitely. Then building networks, creating those content assets, the whole Kraken system concept.
Yeah, the Kraken's a great visual for a multi-channel approach.
Plus the practical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Using job boards strategically, being selective about client, understanding client speak, the importance of contracts.
Don't forget specialization and retainers for stability.
Absolutely. And then the path to higher income levels, $100, $200K, while avoiding burnout, and ultimately aiming for that niche famous status.
It really is a comprehensive system he lays out, but as he emphasizes, it's all about implementation, right?
Exactly. Reading it is one thing, doing it is another. He reminds us that mistakes are part of it. It's a journey.
And he ends with a pretty empowering message.
Yeah, a really strong one for you, the learner. You are the architect of reality. Believe this with every fiber of your being. Go out and make something of yourself.
Powerful words indeed. If this deep dive sparked your interest, checking out Chris Orzechowski's client acquisition book itself might be a valuable next step. But for now, we really hope this conversation gave you some actionable insights and a clearer path for acquiring clients in your own service business. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.